Welcome back to the barbershop. Clefable. Oh, Clefable. The Gen 1 Mount Moon original was blessed with the fairy typing in Gen 6's X and Y and has never looked back. From that moment on, the singing pink blob has been an absolute force to be reckoned with in the OU tier, even rivaling Landorus Therian as the most used Pokemon at times. But what makes such a simple Gen 1 Pokemon with such mediocre stats so amazing, so reliable, so threatening, so dangerous, so spammable, even essential at times? Well, today I'm going to give you the full answer to those questions and share with you why one of Kanto's finest has not only been such a massive threat, but will continue to be a major powerhouse and one of the best Pokemon in the OU tier upon its release in the DLC of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Let's go. Now, Clefable is a pure fairy type Pokemon. It's one of the single best typings in the game. In fact, people would argue that it is the best type in the game as far as a single type Pokemon. It's weak to only 2 typings in Steel and Poison and resists 3 very dangerous types in Dragon, Dark, and Fighting. It was added in Gen 6 to balance out the meta, so of course it's going to be very powerful. But then you take a look at Clefable's stats and say, okay, great typing, but its base stat total is only 483. The pseudo-legendaries are 600, and these paradox Pokemon are 570, etc. Even the starters have a total around 535. How is 483, so mediocre stat, going to be so powerful? Well, if you look at the way that its stats are distributed, you take a look at its HP at 95. That's very good. That's almost mythical level at 100 base HP stat. It has just enough bulk to get the job done and presents options for how you're going to be able to build this Pokemon. You can build it both specially defensive with 95 base HP and 90 base speed def, or you could build it physically defensive with 73 defense and a max HP stat where it's going to be able to eat hits on the physical side or the special side and recover those hits off. It's not going to be easily taken down by 2 hits, allowing Clefable to switch in as a defensive Pokemon, eating non-super effective hits for days like strong earthquakes or fire blast. Clefable is going to be easily able to shrug those off and recover that health back up with its plethora of recovery moves in Wish, Moonlight, and in Soft Boiled. But it's slow. It's only base 60 speed, and its special attack is only 95. Yeah, that's decent, but aren't there much stronger hitting fairy Pokemon and stronger Pokemon in general? Yes, there are, but they don't have the full package that Clefable has. Let's dive into Clefable's 2 amazing abilities and why those play such a massive role in how successful and versatile this Pokemon is and why it continues to be a massive threat in the OU tier. On top of that, let's take a look into Clefable's amazing move pool with so much utility, so much recovery, so much momentum, so much offensive presence. And then I think you'll have a better idea of why this Pokemon is going to be such a massive threat continuing into Generation 9. Now, it's not just that Clefable has 2 great abilities in Magic Guard and Unaware. And I should say S tier abilities, not just great. It's the fact that these 2 abilities work so well together. They're both commonly run and they both serve an excellent purpose competitively. Magic Guard is typically run a little bit more than Unaware, but that's what makes Unaware so dangerous because they function in nearly opposite ways. A Magic Guard Clefable means it's going to have to be taken out with hard-hitting direct attacks, or you're almost going to need to set up on it to break through its thick defenses. It can't be whittled down with toxic or with hazards or with chip damage from weather. It has to be hit directly to be able to take damage. That's what Magic Guard does. On the other hand, if you have an Unaware Clefable, it's very difficult to break through with direct damage because it ignores all of your setup moves, your boosting moves, your Swords Dance, your Quiver Dance, etc. It needs to be whittled down with a toxic or with hazards or with weather. So they really function in almost opposite ways, and that's part of its dangerous kit, its unpredictability with its ability. So you add these 2 amazing abilities to an amazing typing and the ability to be able to be built both specially defensively and physically defensively and eat hits and recover it off on both sides. But that's just the tip of the iceberg for Clefable, because not only is it tough to break through and tough to figure out how you're going to take it down, but its move pool allow it to be built in so many different ways and have so many different sets that it's tough to predict what it's going to be able to do. So let's take a deep dive into its amazing kit, and then I want to share with you why it's going to counter almost the entire meta in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. So let's just start with some of the amazing status moves that Clefable gets and what makes it such a reliable utility role Pokemon. Well, not only do you have the bulk and you're able to switch in defensively and counter a lot of Pokemon, but you're also able to get in and set up Stealth Rock. Right off the bat, Clefable is one of the best rockers in the game. We all know how valuable and important and essential hazards are in the game, so Clefable right off the bat does get the rocks. Another very common move for Clefable is going to be the Thunder Wave move, paralyzing your opponent, 90% accuracy. Oftentimes that Thunder Wave is run on an unaware set because it likes to switch into things that maybe have Dragon Danced up, or Nasty Plotted up, or Calm Minded up. It doesn't fear them at all. It can set up rocks in their face. It can Thunder Wave them, and it can throw up a Wish like I mentioned before and pass that off to its teammates. It can switch into offensive threats with Unaware and do all these things. It can also switch into defensive Pokemon that like to Toxic, etc., and not be afraid of that because of the Magic Guard ability. So it can be built in so many ways. Not only is it a Wish passer, but Clefable also, like I mentioned, gets recovery in 2 different forms, in Soft Boiled, and Clefable also gets Moonlight if you'd like to run weather dependent healing in the sun. So it's a very difficult Pokemon to take out as it has so much recovery access. Some of the most common and best items on Clefable, of course, Leftovers is an absolute staple on Clefable, but you can also run Rocky Helmet for that extra chip damage if you're taking hits on the physical side. It loves to switch into things like U-turn, etc., and it doesn't fear it at all. Just heal it right back up. Speaking of utility, it still gets Knockoff. What a great Pokemon for removing the item of the Pokemon it just switched into, which it doesn't fear. It has Knockoff. The Pokemon gets Encore. It can trap you right into those setup moves that mean nothing to it and get out healthily. It also gets Trick. If you wanted to trick something like a Lagging Tail, an Iron Ball, a Choice Specs, a Choice Scarf, even a Choice Band, a Ring Target, the Pokemon is great for tricking away items, especially with the Magic Guard ability or even the Unaware ability. The Pokemon gets both Heal Bell and Aromatherapy to heal the team of all statuses. It even gets Healing Wish as a last-ditch effort if you want to run that on Clefable to bring back another Pokemon to full health. Magic Coat, Reflect, Light Screen. The Pokemon loves to set up screens. And let's not forget about its most recent weapon to its arsenal, Teleport. This Pokemon is such an incredible, spammable, bulky tank that can come in, eat hits with Unaware, or Status Absorb with Magic Guard, toss up a Wish and pass it off with decreased priority momentum move in Teleport. Now, to be frank, a lot of Pokemon did lose Teleport in Generation 9 because it was so competitively overpowered. Game Freak had to give it the banhammer, but it is yet to be seen if Clefable will still have the amazing Teleport move in its arsenal. So not only is it so effective as a defensive wall, a defensive check, and as a utility Pokemon, and as a cleric, and as a pivot, but this Pokemon is an offensive weapon menace as well. It's got every move in the book. This is Little Mew here. Clefable gets access to Calm Mind, which makes it such an amazing late game or mid game sweeper, especially with its Magic Guard ability. And sometimes you can even run Calm Mind with Unaware and heal yourself with Heal Bell or Aromatherapy if you need. But ever since Gen 6, even running a Calm Mind Moonblast set with coverage to hit the steel types like Focus Blast or Flamethrower are there as well, or even Fire Blast. And then of course a healing move like Soft Boiled or Moonlight in the 4th slot for recovery. But it doesn't stop there. This Pokemon gets Psychic for the poison types. This Pokemon gets Stored Power if you want to keep boosting and then annihilate sweep through everything with stored power. This Pokemon gets Thunderbolt and Thunder. This Pokemon gets Ice Beam. This Pokemon gets Draining Kiss to heal itself up on a setup set. This Pokemon gets Grass Knot. This Pokemon even now gets Mystical Fire, Psyshock, Shadow Ball, Meteor Beam. It gets all the coverage you could possibly want to hit everything for either neutral and almost everything for super effective damage, including its checks. One of the special things you can do with Clefable with its Magic Guard ability is give it that Life Orb. The Magic Guard means you don't take the recoil damage from Life Orb when you're hitting extra hard if you do end up running Modest, taking that 317 maxed out special attack up to nearly 400 as a base level with a Life Orb without taking any recoil and access to all the recovery you need. Clefable even gets crazy rare tech like like counter, cosmic power to set up both defenses at once, which could work well on a stored power set. This Pokemon even gets belly drum with drain punch and other physical moves. I would tell you right now, if you haven't looked at this Pokemon's entire moveset, hop on Showdown and just scroll through what it has had on the national decks. Now, I will say, there's a lot of these moves it probably won't get. We all know a lot of amazing threats in Scarlet and Violet lost a lot of their best moves. Will Clefable keep knockoff? Probably not. They took off a lot of knockoff. I'm sure it's going to keep Wish and Moonlight and Soft Boiled. It might lose Teleport, to be fair, but this Pokemon is still so versatile and still such a massive threat, even without Teleport, even before it got Teleport last gen. And most of the time, this Pokemon's either running a utility set with Rocks and Thunder Wave or Wish, and in the past Teleport and Moonblast, etc., or it's running an anti-setup build with Unaware, where it switches in and Thunder Waves things, or can even counter setup in their face with Calm Minds and Moonblasts and Fire Blasts and Psychics. And then there's the hybrid sets, where it's a Calm Mind, Thunder Wave, Moonblast, Soft Boiled set with Unaware or Magic Guard work well with that set. You see these kind of builds at the highest level, at the very top of the ladder in OU, and in some of the highest level competitive play in Smogon tournaments. So with all of that said, I want to mention the game-breaking mechanic, Terastalization, and what that's going to do to Clefable to push it over the edge in Generation 9. Everything I just mentioned about Clefable and its ability to set up, its amazing coverage, its amazing defensive capabilities, its amazing utility, its amazing momentum, its amazing walling capabilities. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it's not just a fairy type anymore. This thing is going to be able to turn into a steel type and completely negate those steel type attacks coming in and turn immune to those poison type attacks. It could turn into a water type, right? Now it's only weak to grass and electric, and you never saw that coming. Water type Unaware Clefable? How about poison type Unaware Clefable? Now you can't poison it to whittle it down. It's still passing wishes. How about a ground type Clefable with a Calm Mind set and Terra Blast and Moonblast and Soft Boiled? You're gonna be able to easily take out your checks in those steel and poison types. And what are you gonna do if it starts setting up cosmic powers? Oh, that's right, it terastallized and completely inverted its weaknesses, and now it's set up +2, +3, +4, and it's impossible to take out with that Magic Guard ability or the Unaware ability. So with all of that said, taking into account its amazing terastallization options as a defensive mon and an offensive mon, let's take a look at how well Clefable is going to counter the current OU meta in Scarlet and Violet upon its release in the DLC. Okay, so I want to go through this entire OU tier list with you guys and share with you why Clefable is going to be such a big threat, why it's going to be able to counter most of the OU tier, and how it can be built to counter almost all of the OU tier, and maybe a few Pokemon that are going to give it a hard time. So right off the bat, we see Amoonguss. Now, Amoonguss is a very highly used Pokemon right now in the tier. Being a grass poison type, it naturally checks Clefable with that poison typing. But Clefable, if it gets in early, it gets in a Calm Mind, and it's got Fire Blast or Flamethrower attached to it, Amoonguss is going night-night. Almost maybe an Oko, maybe not. If Clefable gets up a +2, it might Oko Amoonguss. But I will say Amoonguss looks to be one of the more reliable checks, especially if Clefable is running just a utility set. Amoonguss can get a pretty free switch in, maybe on Rocks, maybe even absorbing a Thunder Wave, and then getting off a free Spore somewhere. But Clefable, of course, could terastallize into a Fire type, or a grass type and dodge Spore, or even a steel type and become completely immune to that clear smog or that sludge wave incoming, and totally bait the Amoonguss and set up all over it. So Clefable takes the W in this instance for me, and Amoonguss is traditionally not one of the most terastallized Pokemon. Clefable with Unaware completely shuts down Armor Rouge. Armor Rouge hits at 125 special attack, even with the Armor Cannon move. A max HP Clefable with a little bit of Spadef investment is going to be able to shrug that off and heal it up. This Pokemon, if it likes to run those crazy setup moves and the weakness policy set, which is pretty much why it's hanging on in OU, Unaware Clefable does not care at all. It Thunder Waves and sets up Rocks. Sorry, Armor Rouge, you just got baited and set up on. Azumarill is going to be one of the best offensive Pokemon for Clefable because it can hit you hard with that Adamant Huge Power Choice Banded set. That's going to be enough in most cases to 2-hit KO a Clefable. Now, Clefable is able to easily shrug off hits if this thing is not banded. I'm talking about like a max defensive build Clefable, which is very common. And of course, the Belly Drum Azumarill set. Goodbye. die. We're unaware of Clefable. We set up all over you, or we set up rocks, or we Thunder Wave, or we Terastalize and start clicking Calm Mind or Cosmic Powered, or we do whatever we want. Baxcalibur, it's not going to be enough, Baxcalibur. Unfortunately, as a max defensive Clefable, we are immune to your best move in Glaive Rush. The Earthquake's going to do nothing, and that Ice type attack, we're shrugging that off with a max defensive build, and we're going to start setting up all over you. In fact, we might even Terastalize into a Steel type just to embarrass you further. Breloom, you're going to need to hit us with a Spore on the switch, or we're going to OHKO you with a Moonblast. Ceruledge, you have the same problem that your brethren Armarouge has. You're not going to be able to hit us hard enough with an unaware set because of how bulky we are. And of course, we can Terastalize into a Fire type and resist your best move. Set up all over you, set up rocks. We're gonna have our way with you, Ceruledge. Now, that said, Ceruledge does eat Moonblasts decently well. It does eat fire attacks. It's immune to fighting attacks, right? Like Focus Blast, but it takes neutral from Psychic. It takes big damage from Terra Ground as well. Cinderace, it's not going to be enough. You're going to have to be a banded Pyro Ball set to break through us. Even then, I think we can probably Wish Protect it off, land a Thunder Wave on you, and have our way with you. You're just not strong enough to break through the beast that is Clefable, and we might even Terastalize into a Fire type just to rub it in. Clodsire, one of the best checks to Clefable in the game right now. It's going to be able to come in on the it's going to be able to come in and be very specially bulky. I think this Pokemon was added as one of the best Clefable checks. It's going to be able to come in and start setting up spikes on Clefable, so I'll give it to you, Clodsire. And you're even able to heal things up with your Recover move, and you also have Unaware that's going to completely negate if we start setting up Calm Minds. You're immune to the Thunder Waves, and even if we do become a Terra Ground, we're not doing much damage to you with a Terra Blast, so big thumbs up to Clodsire as one of the best Clefable checks. But even then, we could do something crazy. If you're Water Absorb and we Belly Drum or we knock you, you can still get knocked off. If we keep knockoff, we might not. Corviknight, you're going to have Iron Head, and you're going to need to flinch us. If we've somehow managed to speed creep you, Corviknight, which takes a lot, we probably won't outspeed Corviknight as a Clefable, but you're gonna need to have Iron Head, or else Clefable sets up all over you, Thunder Waves you, knocks you off if we keep it, Fire Blast Flamethrowers you, Thunderbolts you, T-Waves if I didn't mention that, and continues to set up rocks on you, stalling out your Defogs, and getting a nice momentum switch on you on a full para, or just setting up all over you with a Calm Mind. So you're gonna need to flinch us with Iron Head, Corviknight, and you can't set up on us either. Sorry. Dondozo. I have nightmares about Dondozo versus Clefable, so we're going to move on. Dragapult. Clefable is almost the best dedicated check to Dragapult, maybe after Grimmsnarl. Clefable is Dragapult's worst nightmare, and Clefable is one of the main reasons Dragapult's usage, and all the other dragons, might I add, are going to see significant drop-off come the DLC when the Clefable Landorus meta returns. Dragonite, just the same. A max defense Clefable, you're not able to Dragon Dance anymore. So long to the early days of Scarlet and Violet where Dragon Dance, E-Speed Dragonite. Now, Terra Normal, E-Speed, Banded Dragonite, it's still gonna hurt a lot. But Clefable loves to Wish Protect. Clefable can easily eat one. It might be able to eat two on a max defense build. I think it's going to be pretty close to a roll. With Protect leftovers, Clefable is going to be able to get off a Thunder Wave. It might win the 1v1 there, but Clefable's the last Pokemon you want to see if you're bringing a Dragonite. Garchomp. Clefable solos. Now, Garchomp does get spikes now in addition to the Stealth Rock, and Garchomp can still Terastalize and use Iron Head and do big damage, but Swords Dance doesn't matter, and Clefable can come in and, with a little bit of Spatak investment, OHKO Garchomp. I can see Garchomp Terastalizing Steel as it likes to do and take a few hits from Clefable, but if played right, Clefable could predict that and click Thunder Wave, but Garchomp's still going to be good. It's still there to set up really hazards more than anything now, but you can't Dragon Tail us out, and it's kind of looking like an opportunity there for Clefable to pass a wish, in my opinion. Garganical. Oh, Garganical, how you are getting shut down by our boy Clefable with our amazing Magic Guard ability. No Covert Cloak needed. Your Salt Cure is rendered useless. We're going to set up all over you with Calm Mind. See ya. Goldango. I will say, you're gonna hit us pretty hard with your Make It Rain move. But if we Terastalize into a Steel or a Fire type, or even a Ground type, anything besides Fairy that's not weak to that, we're setting up all over you. We're passing wishes, we're setting up rocks. You're gonna need to trick us, Goldango. Now, Goldango's still amazing. You're gonna need to probably trick Clefable into a Scarf or a Spec set, but yeah, watch out for a Flamethrower, and especially if we already get up one Calm Mind. Not looking good. Glamora. Great Tusk, your time is gone. Clefable is here, Clefable is now. We are a defensive build, Clefable, and we can do whatever we want to you. We threaten you out immediately with a Moonblast, we set up rocks in your face. We Thunder Wave on the switch, predicting your Corviknight. GG's Great Tusk, your time is over. Clefable Landorus have now rendered you maybe top 20 OU. It's gonna be tough for Great Tusk when Clefable comes back, especially countering its bulk up sets as well. We're gonna need Great Tusk to Terastalize into like a Fire or a Steel type or something like this in order to even handle Clefable. Greninja, what can you say? You're gonna need to land a Gunk Shot and you're gonna need to be banded. And if you're not banded Gunk Shot and with a nerf to Protean, if you've already Proteaned into something else and you don't get that stab Protean boost, you're getting no-code by a Moonblast. Sorry to say, Greninja. You get countered by Clefable. Hatterene, you also are being replaced by Clefable. Not completely. Hatterene is great Pokemon, but all you can do to us, Hatterene, is Nuzzle and maybe Mystical Fire to keep our special attack down. You're gonna need to hope for some full paras with the Nuzzle, but we can still set up Calm Minds all over you. You can't set up Calm Minds all over us because we're unaware. Clefable greater than. Also, we can heal up and you can't, so we're gonna win that war all day. Hydreigon, you're gonna need to Terastalize. Oh, you were a Steel type. We turned into a Fire type. Gotcha. Iron Moth. Love it. Gotta say, love Iron Moth. Love its matchup for Clefable. Doesn't like switching into Clefable. If we keep knockoff, it's not gonna like being knocked off unless it uses up its energy booster. That's fair. But it's also not gonna like switching into a Thunder Wave. But it is going to be able to switch into Fire attacks. It's not gonna be able to switch into a Terra Ground though, or a Psychic. And if we do set up a Calm Mind as this thing switches in and we are carrying Terra Ground, or we are carrying Thunder Wave, or we are carrying Psychic or Stored Power, Iron Moth does not have setup except for speed boosting. Clefable's gonna win that exchange, especially with a +1 SPDF and the Terastalization option. But it could be an initial check. I will say that it is an initial check, but it doesn't want to switch into a T-Wave, and oftentimes Clefable's just gonna get in rocks and get out. And after a +1, Clefable might be able to heal that off with a soft boiled, and you can't heal up, and we can Mystical Fire you if we want to. Iron Treads. Okay, Excadrill's daddy has 112 attack, 120 defense, and 70 SPDF. We might see the rise in AV Iron Treads coming into Rapid Spin on Clefable. I think we're going to see the increase in Iron Treads and the decrease in Great Tusk because of Clefable. We're going to see this thing loving to come in, absorb even a knockoff if it gets it still. Immune to T-Wave. Gonna love to spin away the rocks Clefable goes in for. Clefable is going to, just like Excadrill in the past, maybe want to predict this thing and go for a Fire move on the predicted switch. It's going to be a pretty good initial switch into Clefable. Now, Fire type, you hit us with an EQ. We go Steel type, you hit us with an EQ. We go Poison type, you EQ. So if we stay Fairy, you Steel attack. So great check in Iron Treads. 2 thumbs up. Now, Iron Valiant. Now, I recently did a poll on my channel, and Iron Valiant of who's going to be the better Fairy type once Clefable drops in home. And Iron Valiant, between Iron Valiant and Clefable, and Iron Valiant won by like a 90 to 10% margin. And everybody's saying Iron Valiant so much better, going to annihilate Clefable. I think you're forgetting about Clefable's unaware ability, right? Iron Valiant really likes to set up Calm Minds or Swords Dances in order to be a sweeper, and that's what it does. It comes in late game, it gets the booster energy boost, sets up a Calm Mind, sets up Swords Dance. Clefable doesn't mind that at all. Clefable is going to come in unaware, ignore you, and kill you. Yeah, Clefable checks everything you want to do, Iron Valiant. Everything you want to do. We're going to see the decrease in Iron Valiant usage. It's going to need to be a Specs set to maybe break through a defensive build Clefable with Moonblast. That's going to be its best attempt. Even then, Leftovers and Protect, we might be able to heal that off. Clefable counters Iron Valiant, you guys. Clefable is going to be very, very valuable on teams checking things like Iron Valiant, Great Tusk, and all these other Pokemon that I've mentioned so far. You're going to see it on a very, very high usage, especially for reasons like this. All the dragons. Moving on. King Gambit. King Gambit. Yes, King Gambit, you are a massive threat with your Iron Head. and that might OHKO us if you have max Supreme Overlord here. 5 Fallen. But your Swords Dance doesn't matter, and we could Terastalize into a Fire type. Now, we know that you love to turn into a Fairy type. We know that you like to Terastalize into a Flying type. Make sure you hit us with those Iron Heads before we Terastalize or we burn a Terastal, because if we go Steel or we go Fire or we even go Ground, we're going to be able to shrug that off. We're going to be able to Thunder Wave you. We're going to be able to heal up on you, maybe even set up all over you. So still a solid physical offensive answer to non-Terastalized Clefable. I'll give him that. But if we do Terastalize, scary for King Gambit. Don't switch in on a Focus Blast like we predicted and get blown back in 1. Meowscarada, your days are numbered, Meow Meow. Here comes Clefable. OHKO'd by Moonblast, Thunder Waved. It's looking scary. You can't do U-turn. Flower Trick's not gonna do enough. Knock off Sucker Punch, we're not scared at all. You're gonna really need to come in and you're gonna need to get up spikes, Meowscarada. That's what you're gonna need to do, and then you're gonna need to U-turn out. Good luck taking damage from that Rocky Helmet and eating that Thunder Wave if you're not dead from the Moonblast. Orthworm, we're going to continue to see the rise in Orthworm. We might even see it banned entirely because of Shed Tail. There's a good chance this thing gets suspect tested and gets the boot just like Cyclizar got a long time ago. So if it still is around, gonna be a great Pokemon to check Clefable and set up rocks and a Shed Tail and get that out. Now, Clefable, if it does have a +1 or +2 up with Calm Minds, it's going to be able to do big damage with Focus Blast, Fire Blast, Flamethrower, and even if we Terastalize into a Fire type. Now, Ground type doesn't work because of that Earth Eater ability. Nonetheless, it's a pure Steel type versus a pure Fairy type, leaving Terastalization out. Now, Orthworm is very, very frail on the special side, but Heavy Slam is going to do a lot to Clefable. We'll have to see how that one plays out. Roaring Moon. Your worst nightmare is here wearing Roaring Moon. Clefable. Oh, the lowly little singing pink blob from Mount Moon. Such a massive offensive power creep beast as Paradox Salamence with the Dark Dragon type and its Protosynthesis ability becoming so incredibly strong with the plus attack Proto and the Dragon Dance now his attacks like over 1,000. He's Terastalizing into a Flying type. He's OHKOing everything with Acrobatics and Crunch. Clefairy. Laughing in your face, dude. Goodbye, Roaring Moon. Your worst nightmare is here. It's a little pink blob from Mount Moon. I'm gonna set rocks up in your face just to laugh at you. Rotom Wash, Clefable solos. Unless you trick us. You could trick us, Rotom Wash, and we're gonna probably see the rise in Trick Rotom because of Clefable. Because otherwise Clefable comes in and sets up rocks and does whatever it wants, starts passing wishes and starts Calm Minding up, and Samurai, you won't be an OU much longer. Skeledirge. Okay, love Skeledirge matchup for Clefable. Now, Skeledirge has recently kind of been the Clefable of OU, but not quite as good because it has to Terastalize into that Fairy type, and then it has the Fairy type unaware. Clefable hands down going to be much better. Skeledirge is a little bulkier, and it does have, again, like that recovery and slack off, but it doesn't have the 2 options in Magic Guard and unaware like Clefable has, and the mind games and all the different coverage and all the different utility and hazards and T-Wave and knockoff, etc., and wish that Clefable has, right? And so Clefable is also starting as a Fairy type, which is excellent, and then it has the option to Terra into a Ground, a Fire, a Steel, a Water, etc. So Skeledirge may see some significant drop in usage when Clefable comes out, but Skeledirge is still an amazing Pokemon with heavy duty boots and that Ghost and Fire typing with unaware and checking things like Iron Moth and Volcarona and things like this. So it's been a great temporary Clefable replacement, but I do see it dropping a little bit when Clefable comes in. It's just going to get, I guess, outclassed. I just guess you're getting outclassed. No, but it's still going to be a great Pokemon with Torch Song and Unaware in general. And Fire Ghost is so good. So Slowking, it's been on the rise, right? It's got the chilly reception. Unfortunately, it lost Teleport, but Clefable solos. Clefable sets up all over you. It's got Unaware. It can Thunder Wave you. It can Calm Mind up on you. If you start Calm Minding up on Clefable, it doesn't matter. It's got Unaware. Clefable can actually like switch into this thing and eat whatever it wants to go for and set up rocks or Calm Mind or T-Wave and pass off a wish. Ting-Lu, your worst nightmare is here. Now, you're going to be able to eat Moonblasts pretty easily because you are just that bulky, Ting-Lu, but you can't do much to Clefable. If you want to Ruinate it, we're going to be able to soft boil that off. We're going to be able to Wish Protect on you. Now, you will be able to set up some spikes still, and you will be able to Whirlwind Clefable out. So that has that going for Ting-Lu, but it is still naturally weak to Clefable's Moonblasts, and after I think a +1, it's going to probably get 2-hit KO pretty easily from the pink blob, so doesn't help your case at all, Ting-Lu. Here comes Clefable. Torkoal. Good for you, Torkoal. You're staying strong. I think we'll almost see the rising sun with Clefable entering the meta, resisting its fairy, resisting its fire, and not caring about the, focus blast. Now, if we do get up a Calm Mind and we Tera ground and we hit you with a Tera Blast ground, you're not going to like it. We might be able to OHKO you, but you are going to be able to switch in and you don't really mind the Thunder Wave and you are going to be able to rapid spin those rocks away. So good for you, Torkoal. Keep doing you. Toxapex. Okay, Clefable actually beats Toxapex 1v1. So you'll see in Generation 8, we see just Toxapex and Clefable are just sitting there facing off for 20, 30, 50, 100 turns. You'll see them just sitting there PP stalling each other. It's disgusting. It's what has to be done because they're such unbreakable walls in certain builds, in certain cases. So it depends. This is going to come down to, well, Toxapex has lost knockoff and Clefable probably will too. So it's not going to be as toxic as it used to be. But Clefable doesn't mind switching into a Toxic or a T-Spike because it's got Magic Guard. Yeah, they just sit there passing wishes and Calm Minding and hazing and etc. So it's going to be disgusting. We'll have to see how it plays out with Toxapex and Clefable. Now, naturally, Toxapex does check Clefable with the poison typing, but we'll have to see what happens. Volcarona, Clefable comes in, does not care about you, and it has Unaware, and it doesn't mind your Quiver Dances, and it Thunder Waves you, and it Roxes on you, and it can actually start Moon Blasting on you if it wants. If you're not running Morning Sun, and even if you are, it can make you burn through those with its Unaware. So Clefable is a soft check or a soft counter to a lot of builds of Volcarona. Now, we may see some Tera Steel Volcarona. We may see some Tera Poison Volcarona to hit the Clefable, but that's not going to be ideal because Clefable is so bulky on the special side and it's going to kind of waste your Tera. So Clefable, an amazing check. Goodbye Volcarona once you catch this T-Wave. Walking Wake. What can I say? Now, if you're still in the sun and you have a choice specs or you have that special attack photosynthesis boost, you're going to hit very hard with the Hydro Steam, and in the rain, you're going to hit very hard with a Hydro Pump as well. So that may be able to break through Clefable on the special side. With that said, Clefable is easily going to be able to eat one, maybe two if Walking Wake is not maximized on its special attack, in which case Clefable on a specially defensive build especially is going to be able to swish into this thing for days, being immune to Draco, threatening it out with a Moon Blast, right? If Walking Wake is not terrestrialized, maybe into a fire type, etc. And then that's just free rocks, free T-Wave, free Wish Pass, free Calm Mind, free whatever Clefable wants to go for, gaining momentum and doing what Clefable does. So not good for Walking Wake. Another big bulky fairy check is coming your way, Walking Wake. Sorry. And finally, Hisuian Zoroark. It's looking really bad for you with Clefable because we're so bulky on both sides, and we don't care about your Swords Dance or your Nasty Plot, and you're going to drop very quickly, and you're going to be exposed very quickly when we Moon Blast you for 75. So Clefable is a very solid answer to you, Hisuian Zoroark. With that said, I'm saying Clefable checks about 80 to 90% of the OU tier right now with the right build. Big asterisk right there. With the right Tera. But it's so good. You still have 5 other Pokemon on your team to fill that void, that role that backs Clefable, that allows it to be such a massive threat and to check so much of the tier. I challenge you to go through the tier for yourself and say, if I'm using this Pokemon, would I like to see a Clefable on the other side of the field? The vast majority of the time, you're going to say no. Clefable with either Magic Guard or with Unaware is going to shut me down completely. It's going to threaten me out. Now, it's going to be very bad if Clefable loses knockoff, I will say. And we already know it's probably not going to keep Teleport, even though that's it's one of its signature moves. It is like the Teleport Pokemon. Well, I guess like Abra, but it probably will lose Teleport. It probably will lose knockoff. And of course, some other moves that have been taken out of the game, like Meteor Beam and stuff like that. It really doesn't matter. But guys, look for yourself. Believe me when I tell you, this Pokemon's been top 5 usage forever in all the past generations in OU. It's going to continue to dominate the meta in Scarlet and Violet. Now, we don't know exactly if it's going to drop in part 1 of the DLC, the Hidden Treasure of Area 0, or in part 2 coming late winter of this year. So we'll have to see when these Pokemon drops. This is all data mined. We know the whole list of 200 plus returning Pokemon that are coming out. Here's a quick look at them right now. Actually, we see Clefable is right here. So We don't know all the moves it's going to have, but we do know that it's probably going to keep both of those abilities and it's going to keep on being Clefable. So thank you for watching this video. Watch out for Clefable when it drops. You're going to see it on all the teams. And I think you're going to see even more Unaware on Clefable than we've seen before. I think it's going to pair very well with things like Clodsire. You're going to need to take out those Clefables before you're able to start setting up with your dragons, with your Iron Valiants, etc. So thank you guys for watching. Please let me know what you think in the comments. Am I overhyping Clefable? Am I on Clefable's butt sack? Tell me what you guys think. I love you so much. Please drop a like if you like this. I'll see you in the next one. Take care. God bless.